Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka.
It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an episode of Baka. We are an anime podcast that every 2 weeks we watch a new anime. We come together here on this podcast. We talk about it like we're a book club. We turn the comments over to you to carry on the discussion and make it even better than it already was. And that is the premise of the show. We watched Kaguya-Sama, War is Love. It is a romantic comedy. Psychological. We'll get to that. We'll talk about it. But let me introduce my co-host. First off, we have the Batman versus my Superman, Jeremy. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. Tech savvy. I know that much.
What have you been up to?
Actually, not a whole lot. I think we're moving, so that has been pretty crazy, but I don't
look forward to new backgrounds in Jeremy's YouTube video.
Exactly right. Yes. Hopefully it'll be something a little bit more interesting without an old ratty red couch. Thing drives me nuts every time I look. But yeah, other than that, not a whole lot. So things pretty calm.
Awesome. Now this one, I got to introduce my other co-host, and I had some trouble with this one. I wanted to do versus, it's like Freddy versus someone. I couldn't think of anything. So the Jason. X versus my Sever. Jason, how are you?
X versus Sever. Is
I
that like a Wolverine reference, like a mutant reference?
That would be a movie reference starring Antonio Banderas and Lucy Liu, and there's a reason you haven't heard of it. It's that bad.
Oh, how can you say a movie with Antonio Banderas is bad? Have you not seen Spy Kids?
Have you not seen X versus Sever?
I remember Old Zorro. That wasn't terrible.
I'm not dissing the great Antonio Banderas. I'm just this movie.
I have been consumed with the new Path of Exile Legion. It's everything Synthesis was not, which means it's amazing.
Is Synthesis the
Don't
one?
Don't ask him questions. We go over this every time.
That we're sorry about.
I won't go over Synthesis because that'd take way too long. This one, there's these cool little stones you click on, and an entire army frozen in time appears.
Oh, yeah, I remember that trailer.
Yeah, so then you got to bust them out of, being frozen, depending on which ones you want. And some of them have higher chances of loot, and other ones don't. But the main mechanic is this little piece of currency that you put on a piece of gear, and it's called the incubator. And the incubator will be like either an item or other currency or something else. And then once you get to a particular amount of monsters, you get the thing. And I think the owner was saying that basically with all the other leagues, people were complaining that, I've got so much to do. And this way you can kind of do it at your own pace, right? You can engage in the content. So,
okay.
No,
moving on.
Why do you hate me, Troy?
Well, look, you can't talk about the exact same game for 2 years.
Yes, I can.
Such great length.
It's amazing.
Look, if they have at this point decided they want to check out Path of Exile because they agree with you, they already know this. And if at this point they haven't checked out Path of Exile, you're not going to sell it.
You never know.
So our Godzilla versus nameless monster host leader, Troy, how are you?
Why not King Kong?
That works, yeah.
No,
I was actually
literally a title.
I was looking up different Godzilla movies to try and pick one, but
I would say Godzilla versus Mothra.
Mothra. Oh, hey, that's rude.
Hey, now you know how it feels.
No, that's so much more hurtful. No one wants to be Mothra. No one grew up like, yeah, Mothra, that's my hero. All right, I'm good. I watched last week the documentary Raising Kratos on YouTube. It's a 2-hour documentary on making of God of War, and I am still playing that game, and that game is still fantastic. I caught on to the combat with total Kratos. and it's just amazing. The acting is amazing. And then watching that documentary about, the time they spent, how many years they put into it, their first showing at E3 and the pressure behind it. And then, getting ready for release date. And there's way too many bugs. Logs are just floating through thin air and they're all freaking out. And you can tell they have very strong opinions on what the game should be. The combat designer and the main head of the project don't seem to always see eye to eye. And man, it was fantastic look into game development, and being in the middle of playing that game, seeing how great it is, and seeing what they went through to make it. It actually gets you a little emotional at the end when they release it and then they go to check their review scores and then they see those review scores and like they just kind of like break down. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It was a really cool documentary, and I'm not much of a documentary guy, but okay, we should talk about the anime. We do have a lot to talk about.
Do we?
We do. Me and Jeremy do, apparently.
Right.
Also here again for another episode. And then you get complimented. I'm not bitter. All right. So, like I said, we watched Kaguya-Sama, Love is War. Let's give our non-spoiler reviews to let the audience decide if they want to see it, if they haven't followed along with us. I chose this. Mostly because I didn't really want to do another isekai. There wasn't really anything else that was really interesting to me. Bunny Girl Senpai just isn't grabbing me. So I was like, let's do another comedy. I don't like to do stuff twice in a row, but we'll just do another comedy. It wasn't quite what I thought it would be. I thought it would be more mind games, more plotting, more like I thought one character who is a maid was going to turn out to be like someone else in disguise. Like that's how far the machinations were going. That's not what this is. This is very, very meet cute, puppy love comedy story coming of age. And I'm a little old to fully relate to that, but it did bring back some pleasant memories from my own, falling in love when I first met my wife and stuff like that. So I enjoyed it. Some of the comedy bits landed for me, some didn't, but there's a lot of them in there. So, if one misses, it's on to the next. So for me, it was fine. Jason.
Yeah.
How about you?
This
the sigh. Okay. Like you could just cut there and everyone would get it.
Yeah, right. I needed to quantify what bugged me so much about this anime, and I think it kind of boils down to the two main characters. Nothing about them is relatable for me. They're both narcissistic, selfish brats that have incredible status and privilege due to not just their own hard work, but also nepotism. And I can't relate with any of that. And like the hard work, sure, but just being given everything they have and then their one true obstacle to overcome is dominating their other potential love interest, which I know you guys disagree with that premise. I don't know and for one, I just don't like the young romance stories to begin with. So this anime did not hit with me.
Yeah, we have a lot to dig into there in the spoiler section, but we're going to wait for it.
Well,
Jeremy.
I think one thing without spoilers, because I do think it's in like the description on Crunchyroll and stuff, is that the male main character, I always have trouble with their names, but the male main character actually has no nepotism whatsoever. Like he's a complete commoner that everything is due to hard work. Otherwise, right. I do think that your criticisms definitely are founded as a point of view. But I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I forgot that he's just there due to his hard work ethic.
Yeah. I actually really I did not expect to enjoy it. I thought, I'll give it a shot. I liked the idea that there would be this great depth of psychological combat going on here, but there really isn't. It's cute, but I'll tell you what there is. There's a lot of ecchi undercurrents, and sometimes the ecchi undercurrents are purely in the way it's written, and it's not even in the drawings. And it happens quite a bit. Like some of the titles for the way that the episodes are broken up are just hysterical. Like, Kaguya wants it. Like, you don't know. They're left ambiguous enough to let your mind wander. And it's really entertaining, really funny that way. It's very lighthearted. I kind of hoped that there was going to be a little bit more twists too. Like one of the characters, I just kept thinking this character's got to be the real mastermind behind this. And I kept trying to convince myself, and it did not pan out. And I was a little bit sad about that. But if you enjoyed things like Dragon Maid and maybe like Love is Hard for Otaku or manga artists, comic artists assistants, things like that, somewhere in that vicinity, I think this falls. I would say you'd like it in those cases, but I think Jason's a good example of that not being true. So I don't think I
was about to say, two of those animes you named, I am deeply offended at the moment.
I know, right? I actually wrote them down. I went back and looked up the names. I'm like, I know Jason likes stuff like this. I got to point it out.
It's funny you mentioned that you would give this a shot. Troy didn't give you a choice.
I know. I'm so busy, Troy. I can't make it for this one. And I'm glad I stuck with it.
All right. Okay. Before we go into our spoiler section, how about the opening and the closing? What do you guys think of those?
Yeah.
I hated both of them.
I liked the outro. It was
the
nice.
Outro was middle of the road, a little under middle of the road, but I couldn't stand the beginning. I skipped it every time after the first one.
I liked the art for it, but the music's not really up my alley.
I didn't like either.
I absolutely love the intro. I think the
you
music,
would.
Well, the music is really upbeat, like 60s jazz lounge singer almost, and then the visual style. To be honest, I'm almost sure this is like a James Bond motif going on because they have like this 70s music and then the folding characters and the kaleidoscope of visuals as the action centers around it. For most, that's a great thing.
For most.
The endings actually, I mean, it was fine, and I
like the music for the ending. The art was nah.
And I got what they're alluding to, like, you know, she's in a blimp, he's like basically in a paper airplane, and the others are in an engine plane. But it was kind of like, I don't really get the symbolism of why she's growing wings, why she needed to grab a rifle to just jump out of a thing. I didn't quite fully understand all the symbolism of the ending. No. We should also talk about the special ending in episode 3. It has a special credit scene of a song and dance that has to be rotoscoped. Yeah, I think because of the detail they had. I'm pretty sure they used a live actress and then just drew over it, and it's adorable. Like that. I was like, okay, you can stick around, anime. I was having a hard time the first 3 episodes. That scene was kind of a turning point for me.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was good. I mean, it was cute, but I mean, it wasn't something that would make me watch this anime.
It redeemed the first 3 episodes.
It made me like, oh, okay, you're willing to do some weird, risky stuff, and there are other stuff that started redeeming the anime. It wasn't like just this, and then it was a 180, or I just suddenly started getting the humor, the characters and stuff. I think kind of grew on. All right, let's go into our spoiler section. So from everything out, we're going to explain and over-explain the jokes that you definitely need to know. We talked about this last week. We are going to ruin these jokes if you haven't heard them, and definitely ruin them. So if you have not seen this before, from here on, everything's going to be spoiled. Please go check it out if you are interested. And if you're okay with it being spoiled, then feel free to stick with us. Okay, I want to start with talking about the premise, because in the first 2 episodes, we actually get the narrator telling us about the premise, which is that, you know, when someone in a new relationship confesses their feelings to the other one, that establishes a hierarchy in that relationship, and whoever was confessed to will always be the dominant one and the winner of the relationship. Not only do I think that is flimsy as hell in real life, it didn't work for me at all in this anime, and I also don't think it holds true to the characters in this anime at all.
So I do think that it is a thing, but that thing is called codependence. It's a terrible relationship, and you don't want it. But yeah, I loved seeing the narrator describe it. I loved the way that they made the visuals to like lead you up to everybody's celebrating in the crowd, and then like this broken present on the ground, and the scene changes, and it was great. I really enjoyed the presentation of it. But I agree that to me that was not where they went with this. This was a pretty cut and dry fear of rejection is what I saw over and over and over again. And maybe just a misperception of that as, if you're rejected, then clearly the other person has dominance. So I like it much better thinking of it as that fear of rejection anyways. Even if it's not, I liked it better that way.
Yeah, I didn't get that. And we'll get it more into why. I mean, with all the different scenes of basically stopping themselves from saying something that could be construed as a confession, because they wanted the other person to do it first. And also this terrible, just codependent, like, narration of, if you express your feelings, you're now the servant of the relationship, was a huge turnoff for me. I had a really tough time with this anime.
Yeah, I actually think it's one of my big problems in the first few episodes was that I was taking that at face value of, that's how they were thinking. And I agree with Jeremy. I don't think that is what they are really thinking. I can't even really think of times when they said that out loud to themselves. Like, I don't want to be dominated, so I must not confess. The narrator says it a lot.
Yeah, the closest thing I can think of is that there are times when one of them is like figuring out that, this tell must mean that they like me, so I can't say that I like them because I have to get them to admit it. That's the closest thing I could think of as an indicator that they know the other person likes them, but they're establishing dominance by making them say it first.
Yeah, they're definitely, there's definitely that
happens literally over and over and over again. That situation you just described, Jeremy, nearly every episode had that particular situation.
I think I remember a few episodes where they openly admitted internally that that they figured out that the other person liked them, but they doubted it by the end. And they were always questioning whether or not they were accurate. And I remember that most of the time when they had this inner dialogue, they were more concerned about whether they revealed their feelings than they were of, knowing that the other person liked them. Like, it was more of I've got to get them to say it to prove that they do, not because I know that they do.
And you're absolutely right. They never did they say, I don't want them to dominate me. Like, that was never an implied thing that happened. But with the constant, I need to check the things I say because I don't want to confess because I want them to first, and the narrator constantly saying win-loss, dominance.
Yeah, the narrator.
That's why it never sold me on this wholesale theme of rejection. I can see there were quite a few scenes of fear of rejection, but that just wasn't the theme that I got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like if there was no fear of rejection, they'd be more concerned. They would be less concerned about what the other person thought of them because they'd have confidence that the other person liked them and it was just a game. But the fact that there was so much fear evident because they kept thinking, oh man, he kept getting this image in his mind of her looking down at him with these empty eyes saying, so cute. Yeah. And like, that is a lack of confidence. And that seems out of place if you are just trying to dominate someone and you know that they like you.
That's exactly what I saw. Was every time he had like this plan or was worried that something was going to go wrong, he saw her looking down at him and being like, how cute. And then his value in her eyes going down. And it had nothing to do with, I lost the game or I won't get dominance back. It was, she won't like me anymore. She'll think less of me.
I got the think less of me, but I didn't think it never, for me, it didn't give the impression that she wouldn't like him. It gave the impression that, you're confessing your love to me, therefore now I am the dominant, I am the superior one in the relationship. Mm-hmm. Because every time she said how cute, it's usually this overburdened, just kind of dark and dim, like, oh, how cute, you're my slave now. That's what I got out of it.
Interesting. So it sounds like you really like followed the face value of what the narrator was saying. Like these guys are in the battle that we see in the intro. I can see that. That would make sense. Like that is definitely one way to look at it.
Thoughts on the narrator himself?
Irritating.
I loved him. I thought he was great. I loved it, especially when he would say, he's lying, she's lying. It reminded me of the last anime we saw, right? Double Decker, where the narrator would sometimes tell you, no, this guy's an idiot. He doesn't, he's wrong. And I thought there was some really good timing in that.
It's not a fair one-to-one comparison because I watched the last anime in the English dub, but I definitely love the narrator in the Double Decker more than I like this narrator.
I think this one wasn't quite as active.
Especially in the first couple episodes. Like I said, the first couple episodes, I was having some trouble with this, and I was like, I felt he was over explaining things that were obvious. And I got that was also part of the joke, but he'd be like, "Oh, when a girl asks this, then that would mean this." I'm like, "Yeah, well, everybody would have been able to figure that out from what we just saw. Like the visual clues were all there. We're not dumb, narrator. Thanks, though." So there was a couple times I was like, but after the first couple episodes, I just kind of let it go. And he had some good lines in it. But like I said, it wasn't as fun or as funny as Double Decker to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we can go in and talk about the actual story itself. We're dealing with a prestigious academy where the best of the best of the best go to, the rich people, the elites, and the school president and the vice president of the student council are considered some of the top of these school children. What are they, 15?
14?
Yeah,
they're 17?
Yeah, they're 17.
I thought they were okay. Okay. I had to reassemble some points for later on now. Yeah, so we meet these two characters, and we're going to talk about the vice president first. She comes from a very rich, prestigious family who owns like train systems throughout Japan. But not only that, she is like the best in music. She has all these accolades, all these things, and she is number 2 ranked student in the school. And this is Kaguya, who is really. And I actually love that it's not, I mean, it should be obvious. Her name is the first part of the title. But, the story is like, hey, it's about these two people. But this is really her story more than anything. So what did you guys think of Kaguya and how this anime was her story?
I found her insufferable. Jeremy, for those of you on YouTube, I nearly made Jeremy choke on his drink.
Spit take.
The nepotism is palpable, but then they try and weave this life of absolute luxury where she's driven around, she has multiple like security guards, she has a maid, into this poor me story of how I can't find love, and I'm just kind of grossed out by it.
I think it's really interesting whenever you get I don't know, I think I would call it a fairly in-depth presentation of the character. I mean, just because of the number of episodes and the interesting exploration of her as a person. And with somebody who is in the situation that she's in, coming from money and having not only to have the benefits that entails, of the opportunity and the education. And in her case, also, apparently she just has a lot of natural talents that comes from her bloodline too, because they do point out that she is naturally very capable. But also with money comes a lot of restrictions, and you get to see that in the latter parts of the anime, especially the last episode. And I think that's something that I've seen touched on a few times in different shows. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know I've seen it where you have royalty or other people who, they have luxury, but at the same time they have responsibility. And so there are restrictions imposed upon them of where they can be, how much time is theirs to decide what to do with, and whether or not they even have the freedom to make certain decisions. Sometimes they just don't. And that can kind of screw with a person's development as much as anything else can. It just screws with it in a specific way. And so with her, it was interesting for me, it kind of factored in as these are some of the flaws in her personality, the way that she's behaving. Again, to just mention the last episode, we get to see very, very tiny indicators of kind of flashbacks of what her youth was like when she was even younger. And we're able to see what kind of an impact that must have had on her emotionally. So I kind of give her a little bit of a pass when it comes to how obnoxious and entitled and self-assured that she is, because she has all that baggage that she's carrying forward. And for that reason, I did kind of find her interesting, especially when we got to hear things from characters like Chica, who would talk about what she was like when she first joined. And there's a couple other times too. And seeing that this is her in like the middle of a stage of development from kind of a broken person who has had to make certain concessions in her personality just to deal with where she came from, becoming socialized in this environment. And yeah, so I didn't mind her, and I kind of enjoyed her innocence and everything too.
So Jeremy, in much, much better ways than I could, pretty much said everything I was thinking. One thing I wanted to add was that I noticed there's a little bit of an underlying theme in this anime about social and class and hierarchy and stuff like that. And that Kaguya is very much presented as being rich and being elite are not really pros to her personality. She is whiny, she is bratty, she is presumptuous. And like Jeremy pointed out, we find out that she was much, much worse before this anime started. You nailed it right on the head. We're in the middle point of her development. And there's a scene in here where she has a fantasy about being accepted into the boys' family. And it really struck me as odd because like she's living in a huge mansion with a maid and stuff. And her daydream is to get accepted into this poor family that has to work really hard just to get their boy into this school, and that's her daydream. That's her fantasy. Yeah, there is a little bit of like, you're rich, you have everything, woe is you. Why would I care about you? But I think that this anime is pointing out like, rich people don't have it as good. They, that's not what people should be striving for. That's not where real value is. And I think it uses Kaguya to show that. I thought her presentation was really good because you do think of her in the beginning as like, wow, that's kind of a huge brat. And then as it goes on, you're like, well, there's very much a reason for that. And she's trying to move past that with struggles.
Yeah.
So in conclusion, Jason is wrong. I'm just joking.
No, you're not.
I'm actually mad at Jeremy because like I just kept ticking off boxes of stuff I was going to say. It's like, wow, he's putting that really well. I was just going to like kind of blurt stuff. All right, that's
stealing it all.
How about Mayuki? And before anyone steals it, I just want to call. I loved his character design and the lines that are always under his eyes because he works so hard, and they point out he's always tired. He's working jobs and going to school and has to study harder than everybody else. And so they always draw him with these like tired lines under his eyes. And I really, really enjoyed how that represents his character. Okay, now you guys can take all the
stuff. Besides the, I don't know, he didn't bug me too much, but just he works so hard and he's got so much confidence in all these different areas, and he can't seem to let go of this contest of, that, maybe it is just a fear of rejection and I'm looking too much into it, but it seems like a contest of, she's going to profess her love to me first.
Do you think he actually loves her? Do you think they actually care about each other?
Oh, I think they both like each other.
Like about as much love as teenagers can have before they've
Right. Yeah. It's
love
definitely
it.
like a puppy love, but I do think there is honest affection and care there. So I guess when you say like why he doesn't just let the contest go, are you saying why doesn't he just confess and move on and
Right.
like start the relationship? Okay. Then
Yeah.
that's what you meant. All right.
Which like, looking at it, yeah, he's got better options for one. And, he's so busy. I don't know why he would, of course, someone that age would want a relationship, but it's like, you've got so much in your life. Why do you think a relationship is a good thing for your plate? But yeah, I don't have a ton of bad things to say about him. I just didn't find him as a relatable character in his attitude.
For me, he was interesting, but he was more of like the other half of the joke, the other half of the story, which was fine. He needed to be there for that. I didn't actually even think about the fact that the anime was called Kaguya. So it never clicked for me, like which one was the main character. And so I was like, oh, as a team, they're a main character. All right, sure. But when you mentioned at the beginning of this, I was like, oh, wow. Oh man, it makes so much sense now. But, I found him admirable for his work ethic. Fantastic. But at the same time, his obliviousness and also his fake it till you make it approach to problems that he didn't have an answer for. I really enjoyed watching him try to problem solve those. But otherwise, there wasn't anything really spectacular or noteworthy about him for me.
I ended up finding myself relating to this character really hard, though, except for the work ethic. I'm a very, very lazy person, so that didn't.
Just not his best quality.
Watching two people fall in love, I've said before when we talked about Love is Hard for Otaku that it's not as interesting as like after that first interaction, and then how do you develop there? How do you learn how to fart in front of someone, and how often do you do it? That's a thing that has to be figured out in a relationship, and that's really interesting. That's not really explored. So the idea of them falling in love isn't the most interesting concept, but I saw a lot of my early relationships there, and I remember holding hands with a girl I really liked and her holding my hand and watching movies, and then I went home like, nah, she doesn't actually like me. And then she was like, well, if he's holding my hand and he's not doing anything about it, maybe I'm reading it wrong, maybe he's gay, I don't know. So I get like, hey, this is super obvious, and just do the obvious thing and do what you both want, and not having the self-confidence to take that step. I've been in that shoes. So a lot of the jokes of him when he hit that, when he has that, I'll do this and I'll look like an idiot and she'll just look down on me. I was like, I feel that. Like, I remember that. It was, 19 years ago to the day when me and my wife started dating, but it's been a while. But yeah. So I liked Mayuki, and like I said, with the character design of a guy who's working really hard to be where he is, it's such a contrast to the princess in the high tower, and then there's this salt of the earth guy who works hard to be there anyway.
I do really like the fact that his work ethic, and naturally also his intellect, the work ethic by itself probably wouldn't have been enough, but he also was intelligent enough to make the best of that work ethic, actually let him be number one. Like, he actually got above her. And that was pretty cool to see as well, is that, the main character doesn't happen to be, the number one student, and the person that has all these other advantages and benefits, they don't happen to be the number one student. There's even a point in the anime where she tries really hard and he still beats her. Yeah. And you're like, okay, yeah, he earned that. That was really cool.
So I have a bit of a question, and this kind of actually bugged me about the anime, is that when it comes to the academics, we see that Mayuki works very hard, studies very hard, has to do all this prep to achieve, whereas Kaguya is very much she's naturally gifted in everything she does. Everything comes easy. And so she still works hard to try to get number one, but, doesn't have to put in as much effort. Everything's just natural for her. But when it comes to the relationship battle, Kaguya does tons of prep and strategizing and planning, whereas Mayuki's more on his toes and in the moment fly decision making in their battles. And I kind of thought that was weird that flips so hard. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Whether they mess it up and it's not consistent, or is it just interesting that when it comes to social that changes?
I do have a thought on that, and that's in regards to how I think she would have succeeded many times. I think that her plan was going to work. Like in the first episode with the movie tickets, I think it was going to work. And I think there were several other times where she corners him and she openly complains. And the narrator even points out there is a chaos element named Chica. And
we'll get to it in a sec.
Yeah. And this chaos element keeps intervening and causing problems so that her plans fail. So it's not necessarily that he actually succeeds in defeating her plans without help. Sometimes he does, but sometimes chaos actually intervenes to protect him. So I do think you're right that it's kind of a little bit silly that all of her plans and everything fail when in actuality she's putting so much effort into it and he is just reacting spur of the moment. Yeah, but I don't know. I guess I could try to justify it by saying that he is spending all this time trying to figure her out. He does make a statement in the last episode about, figure out what you've done, figure out where you went. Pfft, that's easy. I've known you for this long. So maybe he's spending all this time studying her, which would allow him to counter her moves. I don't know.
Jason, is that deeper than you want to go?
Come on, teen romance, Jason, come on.
I think it was to contrast by the writers.
Okay.
That works.
Speaking of that first episode, like you said, we're both introduced to the concept of they've been sitting around each other for about 6 months now in this club, and having no movement towards a relationship. There is a scene where you see both of them look at each other, look at the other one and go, I mean, if she asked me to date her or asked me to date him, I guess I would. Not like I care, but I would. And when I first saw that scene, I was like, oh, that's kind of lame. That's as close as we're going to get to actual feelings. But then I realized that these guys are habitual liars, not only to each other and everyone around them, yes, but very much to themselves. They very much are self-deceiving all the time. This is a deception-full anime.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then we go on to the movie ticket that you mentioned. And it's because the secretary of the student council, Chica, has movie tickets to get them. So let's stop and talk about probably the best girl in the hearts of many, Chica, like the element of chaos in their battles. What'd you think of Chica, Jason?
She was probably the only character I could kind of grab onto in this story, because of one, she's got the typical anime girl like persona about her, so it was easy to grab onto her that way. But also,
is phrasing not a thing anymore?
Hold on to use it. Never mind.
Box those things like Sugar Ray Leonard.
I don't want to use the word relatable because she wasn't.
But, I want you to, though. I want you to say you related to Chica.
I did not. But yeah, I think I liked watching her because she was that chaos element. Just ditzy enough that she didn't get what was going on, but also way smarter than everyone around her gave her credit for. And also much more reasonable, because she would walk into a situation, she'd see, well, I have this piece of information, and that. Well, here's the answer. And it was right every time. In fact, probably one of the more adorable scenes is when they're fighting over the cake and she comes in and she just eats it. Like that was adorable. But yeah, so as far as a character I liked in this anime, Chika was it.
Chika of the Ramen Kings. Yeah, I absolutely loved Chika as a character, and I think probably one of my favorite scenes that exemplifies why I think she was fantastic was just the simple act of, in the last episode, they're dusting the main student council room, and everything is going on about this big heated moment, and there's so much important stuff taking place, and he's just the main guy character is just beating the duster against the wall. And I'm thinking, because I've cleaned for a few years, I'm thinking, man, that's not, you don't do that. You're going to have a dust cloud there, and nobody else is reacting to it. And then it just shows Chika right next to him, and she's just coughing and hacking as she walks off screen. And to me, that was just great, because it's like she's reacting to the things that are wrong, to the things that the mistakes that the characters are so amazing and they're so wonderful, the things that they're screwing up on, and the things that the anime isn't even necessarily pointing out, she's catching, and it's always right there on the side. It's not right in front of your face. It's like this little extra serving on the side of a little bit of extra funny. And so she was great for that reason. And also, just like Jason said, she was often the solution to whatever the problems were, and she did it in a cute, comical, very sensible way. Another thing for me was that I really hoped that she was a mastermind and she was going to eventually hook them up. I kept seeing these signs indicating that, like, oh yeah, she's the chaos element. Sure. Yeah. And they kept having her come in, and she'd ruin situations where Kaguya's plans should have worked, or she would, solve problems when they were just about to reach a point where maybe the relationship would start. And I was thinking, oh, it's not time yet. They're not ready. She's making sure that they don't get into the relationship. They prolong this. But yeah, that did not turn out to be her role at all.
No. When I first saw Chika, I'm like, okay, here's your stereotypical dumb girl anime character. And she's not. She is not dumb at all, which was quite surprising, because at first that's how she kind of comes across. But then I was having trouble, like, how is she completely missing everything? Like, even the other character in the room is like, something is going on, and he's aware. She's completely missing it. But it clicked in and kind of reconciled the character for me. And then from then I was able to enjoy her. She's completely self-centered. Yes. When there's one last piece of cake, that is her Chika's piece of cake. When there is one dumpling left, that is her dumpling. And the best scene is when they're like, she's like, they're making plans, and she's like, oh, I can't. I have to go. I'm going on a trip. And they're like, well, we're still going to do it. She's like, what? You can't do a thing without me. Because, Chika doesn't understand that things don't revolve around Chika. There is also a little bit of, she is naive and honest. She doesn't understand that people would lie and deceive to trick stuff around. She does like to get involved in relationships, but I think she does that for Chika, not for the relationships. I think she enjoys the role of matchmaker, but she needs someone to tell her that that's happening.
Kind of makes sense, because, her parents are diplomats, right?
Okay, so we come back to this movie ticket scene. We find out that Chika won them, but it's actually Kaguya made her win and get these tickets so that Miyuki would have to ask her out. And he's trying to figure out how to not ask her out and be like, hey, we should go. I guess who would go? And she starts cornering him and getting him ready to ask. But then Chika points out, like, you guys could also just see a different movie. You don't have to go to this romantic one. And so then she takes their last steam bun and leaves.
Yeah. Which, of course, they needed the sugar, so they fall down.
Which is classic how this works out. Like, oh my God, there's no way out of this situation. One of us has to break. And then Chika, introducing a third option that's like, there's totally a way around this, and not realizing she has done that. The next one is that Kaguya gets a love letter in her locker, and she doesn't actually care, but she comes in and acts like she's in true love to make Mayuki have to act on it. He then uses the method of tattletaling to the teacher if she would do such a thing, because that kind of stuff is frowned upon in the school that seems to be doing it all the time. And it would would work, except for, again, Chica freaks out that Kaguya is going to get expelled and so refuses to let her answer the letter.
Good old Chica.
Good old Chica. And then the last one. Also, I'm not a huge fan of the anime let's do 3 mini stories. It kind of works in the fact that, like, if one doesn't land, you can just move on. But I think I prefer, like, the longer form stories. Like, the last episode I liked a lot more than...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would get through about halfway through the second story arc, and I'm just like, that's almost over. Oh, no.
I was actually really worried that this episodic nature would not yield a good overarching story. But I did see enough development to be satisfied in the end.
Yeah, I'll say I cared about the characters by the end, so it had to have done something right.
Mm.
And then the next one is the lunch boxes. The Mayuki brings his homemade lunch in, and it's the classic Japanese lunchbox with the octopus wieners and all the food he made himself. And she really wants to have a bite, and he can't.
I think in subtitles, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it's something very close to, I want the wiener with tentacles or something like that. I read that and I swear, I'm like, this anime knows what it's doing with its writing. It's being very
yes. It uses very, very specific phrasing.
Yes.
I don't think it's got a dub, right?
No. I watched some sub.
I saw it
same here
too.
Yeah.
I loved that. It was cracking me up so bad whenever it would do something like that.
The conflict of this bit is that she wants to ask for a bite of his food, but can't. So she's scoffing at it in his eyes. So then he's trying to make it more appealing, like, oh, and I brought the miso soup. And of course, Chica is taking bites. and Kaguya is like, she's dead to me. This is not a friend. This is an enemy. This is a problem.
There's actually multiple times that was.
She just writes off Chica as a person, like, you're not alive to me anymore.
Yep.
And then so, like, the next day she brings like a big old fancy lunch that she had her chefs prepare, and she's like, hey, we should trade. And he's like, she thinks I'm gonna eat that, and she's looking down on me. She thinks I'm just this poor country boy. No, I'm eating my food, and she won't trade. And then he also made a lunch for Chica because she asked, and so again Kaguya gets really mad. And then they make him run out somehow. Like she gets to the point where he just like freaks out, panics, and runs out of the room, and then Chico shares a bite of her lunch. So she gets to eat the wiener.
Yep.
The tentacled wiener.
The tentacled wiener.
Tentacle wiener.
Her favorite.
Then, okay, so we have the next episode, another bit. This one is about Mayuki gets his very first smartphone. We find out that this was all Kaguya's manipulation. Like, she had employees subtly mentioning he needs a phone, so he'd buy this smartphone. And also, he has the Line app, so she could get his social media. And he wants her to ask him for the address. She wants him to ask her. So he posts a picture of himself as a child as his profile pic, and of course she wants to see that. He's like, I'm just going to take this down in like 3 minutes.
Like, I didn't understand this.
So she uses the most powerful weapon she has, which is fake crying. So then
a woman's most powerful ability.
he gives in and shows his picture, and then Chica points out, like, hey, her phone can't have this app. Why is this a thing? So, which is, as much as Kaguya plans, like, there's usually something she overlooks. And like the fact she has such an old phone. But they do share text messages. And this actually is important to the story further down the road, that they have a way to contact each other, even though they rarely do. Then the next one is the planning the trip for summer, which is a little ways away, but they both want to do something romantic to get the other one. He wants to go to the mountains. He thinks that, under the stars, she'll definitely confess. She's like, I'm going to take him to the ocean, put me in a swimsuit. He'll confess. He can't swim, so he starts freaking out. Then she points out that mountains have bugs, which he also freaks out about. So
that I could relate with.
But then she realizes that they wouldn't be the only ones at the beach. Chica would be there,
and
the
weakness
Chica
in her plan.
brings some assets to the beach with her.
Yeah, she's like, I need a new one because I won't fit. my current ones.
What do they call it? Like a tank class?
Yes,
Yes.
she's tank class. Oh god, this. I was thinking about this when you were talking about the James Bond intro, because like you get the James Bond looking through the barrel of the gun at her body silhouette, and she shoots like this little tiny pea of a bullet over at basically what's supposed to be a stand-in for Chica that just kind of like boom hits it with its chest. I was cracking up. I had Tanya watch this scene, and she scoffed at it, so I knew it was good.
As she should.
Yes.
And then Chica's like, yeah, let's go to the mountains and we'll go to the haunted, creepy mountain in Japan. And they're like, that's weird. Let's not decide today. And then, so there's this running theme about this other couple that get together. It starts here where Mayuki is asked for romantic advice. Now, we're told by the narrator he doesn't have any romantic experience. He's never had a girlfriend. He's never had any. That's literally why everything's going so bad for him. But he's like, yep, I'm totally gonna do this. And the guy's like, she gave me these really crappy chocolates. He's like, that's a good sign. And Kaguya is outside the door like, that is not a good sign. And then the guy points out like she was making fun of me in front of my friends, or in front of her friends. And Mayuki's like, that's also a good sign.
I love this because he's like, here's what they were really saying. And like,
Yeah.
it would play the girl saying her line in her own voice with her own, like, I don't think, yeah, it did have subtitles for what the girl said. And then it would have him doing the voice of the girl with a subtitle of some nicer way that it could be interpreted. Absolutely loved that entire sequence.
So while he's giving this bad advice, Kaguya is hiding behind the student council door on the outside, and he goes to show like how you get a girl to be your girlfriend. He like slams his hand against the door and like pretends to lean in close and confess to her. And she freaks out like this is actually happening.
She's also standing right behind the door when he slams the door.
Right. Well, so it has its effect because the whole point is like slam your hand, put them off guard, which is a little creepy, but
Yeah.
it kind of points that out too. But
Reminds me of like 1960s.
Yeah. This is the first time I was like, oh, this isn't just them being like, yeah, if that person dated me, I could have control over them and that'd be cool. It was like, oh, there are legitimate feelings here. The way she blushes, the way she reacts to this was cute. I thought it was cute, Jason. Things can be cute.
Sure.
Okay.
Slap a dragon tail on it and we're good, though.
It's a deep pull.
Yep.
That's what never mind.
Oh!
Crazy enough, this works, and the guy gets they start dating. Like I said, they will come up again, but yeah. And the next one, which one is this? Oh, they student council has confiscated a lewd magazine.
This was great.
With a love quiz in it, and they are talking about how it says how many people their age have done it. And Kaguya is like, "Oh my god, you guys haven't done it? Of course I've done it." And
I've done it with my nephew.
Yeah, I've done it with my nephew. Chica, I'm sure, has done it with her dog. You've probably done it with your sister. And they're like freaking out, losing their minds. Chica and Mayuki are like losing it. And Kaguya's like, I have some control here. Things are working. So she's like turning into it and going further. And then Chica has to pull her aside and explain to her that doing it does not just mean giving someone a kiss. It is doing it. And we find out that poor Kaguya has received very little in the way of adult education.
Basically, on the wall, it says you'll kiss, and then the man will tell you all the rest. It's like that's how her dad or her teacher or whoever wrote that got out of explaining it.
Poor Mayuki nearly has a heart attack in this scene.
Yep.
Then this one I like because this is actually one of the ones where you kind of see a lot more about Kaguya. This is Mayuki and Kaguya are alone in the student council room late at evening, and they have, this is one of the first conversations where they talk about like how much Kaguya has already changed. When she first joined the student council, she was cold, she was, mean to everybody, she looked down on everybody, and we kind of start learning that she is working really hard to change that, and really dislikes that she was that way. And it has, since joining the student council, has made big strides in changing. They talk about it, but then they decide to test how much he knows about her with a game of 20 questions, but he only gets 10 because, they're geniuses and stuff. And she uses it as a trap. Basically, she's like, it's something I like. And so he's asking all these questions, and it's all pointing to him. It's all him. And he's like, oh my gosh, this is the confession. I got it. And then he realized, no, that's not how this works. And she's just thinking of a dog that also would have worked for me.
Do you think that she had planned for it to go either way? Like if he picked him, she'd say, pfft, or because there's no way that she would be willing to let that be the moment that she admits that she likes him. But she looked so nervous.
No, I think I think the looking nervous was part of the strategy. I think it was always going to be dog. And then if he says it's me, she's like, would you want it to be you? I think that's the play there.
I could see that.
Yeah. I think even before this, we've seen her like do the, oh, I'm so blushing and shy move to manipulate him.
That's true.
It's a go-to.
Yep.
But he does get out of the trap, and they're both disappointed.
I do like how the narrator always tallies the score at the end, and it's always a silly score.
Yeah, he won, kind of. Basically.
Yep. I also love how Jason's, I don't know, are you deliberately not cracking a smile for so long?
It's like we're tickling him with a no effect.
I know.
No, I'm looking back on these moments and just remembering how irritating it was to watch it.
I feel like I'm getting glared at through my monitor.
To be honest, these first three I hardly chuckled at. I was no, what have I done? What have I picked? If I'm having a hard time with what is Jeremy and Jason going to have to do, especially Jason, because we did just come off a comedy. I knew picking another comedy was probably going to put Jason through this again. It did. And I was a bit worried about that. But.
Yeah, I don't know. The jokes weren't landing for me. I mean, I didn't know it was dog, but I knew it wasn't going to be him. I don't know. Well, we can move on. It's fine.
I just putting it out there. Super high rated on my anime list.
Yeah, and Crunchyroll's got a 4.9 out of 5. I mean,
yeah, this was a big hit.
Yeah, it's great with the teenagers.
and some 30
and Mother's Basement gave it high. I haven't watched his full episode yet, but I know he put out a video on this, and he doesn't do that for ones he really hates.
I'll have to unless it's Sword Art Online.
Yeah, that's true.
He loves the crap all over Sword Art Online.
The next one is about Kaguya. Her car. She has to walk to school that day because it had car issues. Now this kind of emphasizes that she is super overprotected, not allowed freedom. And so this is like the first time ever she's gotten to walk to school, and she wants to use it to meet Mayuki on the way and walk with him to school. Unfortunately, she runs into a little crying girl and helps her get to school, but gets lost in the meantime. But manages to accidentally run across Mayuki, who's late for school on his bike, and he gives her a ride all the way in. So it ends up a good day for her.
Man, their dexterity and balance just is stunning. Like, he's riding his bicycle and she's literally just sitting on the back, unsecured, completely.
I was curious about that scene as well, but
How? Oh my gosh.
Maybe he was just being super careful because of how much he loves her.
That could be it. Or he's trained really hard on the bike
for this moment because he knew someday this might happen.
I mean, I don't know why anyone would put that much thought into that scene, but all right.
I did think that this episode, this particular little snippet, was very good in developing her personality because she got to actually do something that wasn't required. It was out of her way. It was just an entirely altruistic action, and she wasn't inclined to do it initially.
Yeah, she walks past the child and then finally comes back like, what?
Yeah, a little bit of character development for her.
And then at the end of this episode is the Chica Beetle go back to the woods song.
I don't know what she was saying, but
I don't either.
Right. I even tried looking up lyrics and I couldn't find any. It was just Chica, 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 Chica. She sings her own name a lot.
Dance is fantastic. I have watched it a couple times on YouTube since I watched this episode. I also like the way, because the other scene ends with them, rushing to get to school and being late. And then this goes right into Chica being alone in the student council. And I like the idea that if Chica's left alone in the student council, she just like starts having awesome music videos or something.
That's great.
I think actually, now that you mentioned that, it probably would have been more endearing if she like came at the camera and like leaned over as if she was turning it off. Like she was recording herself. I think that would have been really, really adorable.
I would have liked that a lot.
But she was sending there was a purpose to her song. Like it had intent because of the beetle. I don't get it, but whatever. Yeah. So this was the first segment that I actually started chuckling. This is the cat ears one. So they're basically, this whole episode is set up for a party of French students who are coming to visit the school. And so the student council is in charge of a lot of that. And one of the things they want to do is cosplay. So Kaguya comes in wearing cat ears that she could put on her. Mayuki cannot handle the cuteness. Yep. He starts freaking out. And so, he's avoiding eye contact. And anytime he looks at her, he has to like harden his face into this glare of like, don't love it so much.
Yes.
And then it happens in reverse. Chica puts cat ears on Mayuki and then says it looks dumb, but Kaguya is having the same problem. And then Chica wants to take their picture, and so they're like moving closer to each other for the picture, but their faces are so set to not reveal their inner feelings that they're just like, and Chica's like, "You guys are freaking out. What is going on here?" And then
didn't she call them scary?
Yeah.
Yes. Confiscates their cat ears. No more cat ears in the office.
Yep. That made me chuckle because it wasn't really about the dynamic of beating each other. It was oh my god, I'm not ready for these feelings to just come flushing out, and I like her so much I can't handle what I'm seeing in front of me, and that was appealing to me more than what I've seen in the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't.
Okay. You probably hated this episode because there's actually 4 bits or segments. Yeah.
Oh god, I didn't even notice.
The next one is they have to decide who goes shopping, and so Chica decides to play the banned word game. So what this is you write down a word, and then you give it to the person you're playing against, and they have to put it up, and they can't see it. And if they say it, they lose. The losers have to go shopping. Now, Mayuki and Kaguya want to go shopping together, but Chica's involved too. So Mayuki, we see this from his point of view. He wants to get second place, so he needs to beat Kaguya. So she knows he's better, and he also has to let Chica win. So he writes something he knows Chica will never say. He's like, "What is it? It's what or check it out."
Yeah, check it out.
Check it out.
Check it out. And he gives it to her. And he's like, she'll never say that. And she changes her speech pattern into rap. Like, yo, yo, yo.
Check it out would be perfect.
Which means, check it out would fit perfectly into what she's going to say. And so he's freaking out. Kaguya is trying to not talk at all so that she doesn't lose. But then Chica gets real sad and like starts crying and complaining about stuff. And Kaguya goes to comfort her and says her word. And Chica's like, I got you. You're wrecked. And then Mayuki's like, oh, but I bet there was some truth in that. And I bet Chica really is sad. So I'm going to I'm going to play to win this so that Chica feels better. And then immediately loses. So he gets what he wants.
Yep.
I think it revealed that deeper intelligence that Chica has when it serves her. And I think that's the important part, because there's another game that we'll come across that she'll do what she has to win.
I loved that one too.
I did love Chica's expression when she saw her word, though. At the very end, they show her turn it around. She's like, "Oh, I was gonna say that." The next one is they need to text and plan to go shopping. So we see from Kaguya, who's at home with her maid, who
Violet Evergarden.
Basically, who we will talk about later in an episode where she gets some more screen time. But basically, she ends up calling Mayuki. Talks to his dad at first, freaks out. Talks to Mayuki. He's in the bath, makes her freak out even more. But eventually, he's
exposed right now. You're talking to an exposed man.
Just so everyone knows, I love the maid. Absolutely love the maid. We'll talk about her more. But I love her. So they end up texting plans, and it's their first text to each other, and it's like this huge deal for Kaguya. It's like she's treasuring it. But the next day it's raining way too hard. No one can go outside except for he did to meet her. He wasn't going to break the date. She sends a text canceling, but then he's like, "Oh, well, I got my first text from her." It was cute again.
Sure.
Okay. And then we have the actual party. And I like the setup for this, because like Kaguya and Mayuki walk in. She's like, "Oh, do you even speak French?" He's like, he says a few phrases, and he's like, "Yeah, I did some studying. I got ready for this." And then she goes up to someone and just starts speaking fluent French. And then he realizes everyone here is speaking fluent French except for him. And he's like pulling out the book and like, "I don't know what to say." And then, okay, so I don't really get this because it never really comes up again. The headmaster is like, "This is a test. I'm like here to mess with Mayuki and freak him out." What is that?
Yeah, I didn't get it either.
That was really weird. Maybe it's because he's a commoner, and I imagine this probably has something to do with, the manga probably explores it, but maybe it has to do with him being a commoner, and maybe the headmaster doesn't think he deserves the position as student council leader, president.
Well, I thought we'd see more of it. The reason it's so weird, because at first I was like, okay, you're going to set something up here, and it just doesn't really come up again.
Mm-mm. I mean, we see him again, but just in passing, and he never says anything or interacts at all. So I really do think it's a manga thing.
Yeah, and what you said makes sense. Like them, this is our elite school. We have a commoner in the top spot. I need to,
make sure he does.
Yeah, take him out or make sure he's worthy.
Yeah.
So basically, he sends in this French student who is the queen of sarcasm.
I really liked this.
Yeah, she goes in there and just starts roasting Mayuki in French, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And she's just tearing him apart, and he's just like, "Yep,
oui, oui."
And she's like, "I'm not affecting him. What is going on?" It's like he doesn't even understand what I'm saying. And then Kaguya comes up and just destroys this woman.
Actually, I did like that she came to his defense, even though he didn't know he needed defending.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the more, maybe the only endearing part of this anime for me.
I also thought it was really funny. I had to look it up. I'm like checking everywhere. What did she say? What did she say? And it's basically sim speak.
Just gibberish.
Yeah.
With a French accent.
Yes. French sim speak.
And then after this scene, Kaguya actually is worried because she said some really horrible things, which ties into how she used to be. And she's worried that Mayuki saw that side that she's worked so hard to overcome. And instead, he thanks her and points out, "I don't actually know French. I have no idea what you said. You're fine."
And I actually liked that he was honest with her about that. I thought he was going to continue to hide it. And I don't know. I think that's where I part ways with love comedies like this and like the Dragon Maid or Otaku. It's that more mature, grown up love chase is what I'm more can identify with, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that was pretty mature of him to admit that.
There's definitely a sense through this whole anime that I think lowers it, in my opinion, is that, come on, just grow up and say something. Like,
Yeah.
We are being childish. And it's very clear that these are inexperienced young people, and there's a reason they are being childish. It's not out of the blue, but it's hard for me as a married adult man to be like, maybe you should just say something.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like how when you're trying to solve a problem for the first time and you don't know how to solve it, you're going to stumble around like a fool. But if somebody else has solved that problem and they look back at you, they're just like, come on, it's simple, man. I am bored watching you stumble.
Like I said, I've been in their shoes, but I look back at that 17-year-old man and say, you were an idiot.
I remember me doing that too. I can totally identify with this one.
Jason, you were a smooth criminal from day one, apparently.
Like, I know what I want. I got it. Let's be honest here. You want me to.
I just didn't attempt a lot, I think, is the problem. And then once I did, I was just like...
Just going to go with it. We're good.
Yeah. Let's keep going.
Okay, so now we come back to that other couple that they're now having issues, and the girl comes to Kaguya for love advice, and she wants to break up.
Imagine that.
So Kaguya starts like trying to give her advice and try to talk her out of it. And like, you just focus on his good qualities. And she starts listing all of Mayuki's good qualities. She even listing his bad qualities as good qualities. And the other girl's like, aren't those bad things? She's like, no, they're so cute. Not for me. I don't know anyone like that. I don't know what you're talking about. Quit looking at me like that. But the important thing here is that love investigator Chika,
oh God,
it comes on the scene.
That's good.
And she points out to them, like, take your man, put him in your head. Imagine him flirting with another woman. That anger you feel, stronger it is, the more you love him. That's where jealousy comes from. And what's funny is you see the girl who's asking for advice, and she's like, oh, that does make me sad. And then there's Kaguya, who's just like in this dark cloud of miasma and just can't handle it.
One of the reasons why sometimes Chica's dead to her.
Again, this was endearing to me because in the beginning they portrayed it as, whatever. If that girl likes me, I guess I would go with her. And here it's very clear Kaguya is very much feeling things for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And this was another moment where that attached me to Chika. She's just another nugget of wisdom she's able to give, another problem she's able to solve. It's so funny that they took that tropey, ditzy anime girl and basically made her the sage of this show.
Yep.
So Kaguya is like, hey, here's something that would unite you. Find a common enemy. And she means like homework or a test. And Chika's like, yeah, like society.
Become an activist.
So she turns them into rebels. But they end up just doing like charity work. And when they go to check on them, Mayuki's also doing that charity work because he's a nice guy who never stops working.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mayuki, this next one is my favorite segment of all of them. This is the volleyball one. We see him. He's trying to learn to serve. There's a volleyball game coming up that he has to play in. And while he is athletic, like he can ride his bike really fast, he has zero hand-eye coordination. And so like he'll literally hit the volleyball and it goes into his face instead.
Oh God, his hand does sometimes too.
He's completely hopeless. And Chika finds him practicing. And she's like, it can't be that bad. And she sees him like knock himself out onto the ground. She's like, okay, that's a problem. And she points out, like, you literally close your eyes when you jump. Because to him, what's important to him right now is he wants to look cool for Kaguya. So when he jumps, like, he's trying to strike this image and closing his eyes. And so she works with him for like a whole day of, open your eyes. He trampoline jumps, eyes open. And they finally practice, and he's beaten down, she's beaten down, and he finally gets his serve down. He's like, okay, now I have to learn how to play the rest of volleyball. So we jump to a week later at the volleyball game, and he's actually doing adequate. He's just good. And my favorite scene is Kaguya says something about how good he looks, and Chika's sitting there, and she's covered in bandages. There's a bandage on her bow, and she's all beat up, and she goes, I raised that boy. That got a belly laugh out of me. That was very funny. This was just some good physical comedy of a guy who wants to impress at sports. And again, he's out of his depth in a lot of things in this school, despite being the number one he's trying to live up to.
In fact, he even asks, I don't want to be great at this. I just need to be average.
I'm that bad right now.
And at one point she's like, you want to just give up? Like, you're at the level of someone who's not good.
You're not a complete imbecile.
Yeah. And then the next one, they get out early from student council, and it's raining, and somehow Kaguya's car has a flat tire. She knifed it. And you find out both Mayuki and Kaguya have planned for this day. They both knew it was going to rain, and they're both like, shared umbrella experience. That's what we're going to do here. So we come to them both standing outside the school, getting ready to leave, and they're like, oh, I don't have an umbrella. She's like, well, I don't have an umbrella either. And then they realize, well, one of them has to have an umbrella for a shared umbrella experience. They both have umbrellas, but they want to share the other person's because that would be the win. And then they start like, wait. You always have an umbrella. You always check the weather. You just suddenly today don't check the weather, and they start calling each other out. Again, Chika comes in and ruins it. She gives a umbrella to Kaguya. Kaguya insists Mayuki take it. He agrees to take half, and they both have half ownership of the umbrella, and they walk home together under it, even when it stops raining.
I think the only part that semi-endeared me to this particular scene was when she calls him out that you always bike to school, but you didn't bike today. Why not?
Yeah. Yep. Anytime that you get to see a scene that's kind of like a collage of her preparing for the moment, because she's like, I checked for your bike there, and I went and did this, and I checked the weather report, and I got all these reports figured out. I
knifed my own car's tire.
I love whenever you get scenes like that. For me, that is what made me fond of her as a character, is that she's trying so hard.
This scene is what I thought this anime was going to be more of all the time. Like, this felt like plan, counter plan, strategy, question everything. How do I undo what you just did? And then Chika ruins it. There's a lot less of this than I thought there would be.
Yeah. That's funny you mentioned that, because I think I may have been more forgiving of my own tastes if it was more of that. Because I do enjoy Chika's presence in these problems.
Yeah.
And I even like the resolution of this one, where they end up walking home in the rain, and even after it stops raining, they're not willing to undo what they've achieved, the success, the little success they found. So they walk home under sunshine. Then we get to meet. I mean, this is a pretty good character. None of us picked him as our favorite character, but
you kind of deserved it.
Ishigami.
He was awesome.
He is the student council treasurer, and he's a video game otaku. No one really likes him, but he's a whiz with math, and he actually is one of the reasons that the student council is so successful, because he helps them so much with computers and their finances. So what did you guys think of this guy, who we've only seen his shoes as he leaves early so far?
The first time I saw him, I was like, here's my favorite character. And then just the absolute spinelessness of him just irritated the absolute crap out of me. And he's got actually some of the funnier lines that I almost cracked a smile at. But yeah, like every time he's like, okay, this got me. He's like, I'm going to go home and die. And then, Miyuki would be like, please don't. It's fine if you go home. Just don't die.
Don't die.
And then that ended up being a theme of people running home to die and him going, please don't die.
Yep. I absolutely loved this character. He was like the emo, whiny, pathetic character that just was. I loved the fact that he was terrified of Kaguya. Yeah. Kaguya. I loved that he was terrified of her, and that there was like in the episode. I think it is this one, isn't it? Where he's afraid that he sees him in drama class attire. God, I loved those scenes. Every time he'd get terrified of her, cracked me up.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of depth to the character. He doesn't really go through any changes.
Mm-mm.
But the running joke of he's terrified of Kaguya because he has accidentally learned her secret, because no one really pays attention to him. So he found her coffee coupons so she could go get coffee with Mayuki one day that she had hidden underneath the table as part of a plan. And he like finds them and takes them, and she finds out. And so he's so terrified of her. And that running joke through the whole thing is hilarious. But also, like Jason pointed out, he's so socially inept. He's always saying the wrong thing, and everyone freaks out at him. And so he just is always, I'm going home. I don't care anymore. I need to go home. That running joke was very funny. So I think he's a very funny addition to the show and a very good running gag. While maybe not as a character is that interesting. So in his first scene is that he wants to quit the student council because he's sure that Kaguya is going to murder him. And for the reasons I mentioned, he kind of ruined her plans and has found out the truth about her feelings. And as he's mentioning that she's probably an assassin murderer who's going to kill them all, she shows up and covered in blood with a knife. and she was helping the drama club. And then Chica shows up with a knife in her chest because he had mentioned, like, I think she was going to kill Chica first. I've seen the way she glares.
Yeah.
And then Chica shows up murdered. Again, she was helping the drama. And then as everyone's leaving, though, Kaguya comes up to him and she's like, no, but I will kill you.
Yeah, she had been listening at the door the whole time he was talking to Miyuki, and she's like, it's good that you didn't blab, or this would be a real knife and I would kill you.
The funny part is that his fear is completely rational. Like everyone else is like, that's weird that you would be scared of that. And she's literally threatening his life on the sideline.
Yep.
It was pretty funny when they're like, how does that knife, like, stuck in your chest? And she goes, beep, and it goes boink. Like,
yeah,
okay.
Just stuck in the cleavage.
Okay. And then the next one we have Chica's doing basically like personality or psychological tests where you ask a question that's completely random. It seems completely random, but it actually will reveal something important about you. Like she asked about how many of something you
flower
would want.
trucks, right? Or not trucks, but
well, that's
how many flowers would you pick?
That's later. It's I forget what it is, but he reveals like he wants 9, and it's like, oh, you would want 9 kids, and Kaguya's like 9 kids. Oh my god.
Oh, it's how many cats are in a cage.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, that's right.
And he reveals 9, and he's like, oh, 9 kids. That is how many I want. And she's like, oh my god.
Kaguya's face.
But she brings everyone into the game. And asks the next question, and we find out Kaguya has read this entire book already, knowing that Chica would eventually stumble across it, and so she knows that this question
too.
Yep, and she knows the answer of this specific question is who you will like. So she says Chica. Again, I forget the question, and then you says Kaguya. It's who do you see
in a dark alley?
That's right. You're walking down a dark street. Someone comes behind you. Who is it?
Yeah. So again, fearing for his life, he says Kaguya, and then Mayuki kind of figures out like, okay, there's a trick to this, and so he says his sister. Then you finds out. They all find out like, oh, that's who you like, and poor you. No, I'm going home. And then so Chico, wanting to answer a question too, goes online for a random one.
Stuff like this is what made me think Chica's a mastermind, because I'm like, come on, you know that Kaguya, because you just tested her and you know that she knows what's in the book, so you're going online to pick one that she doesn't know.
Yeah. But she's the element of chaos that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the question is, how many flowers would you pick from a field of flowers? And
that's what it was.
Chica says 2, which again kind of emboldens the she's self-centered. Chica cares about Chica. There's not really anyone she super loves, because the answer is how much do you love the person you like. And then Kaguya's is a bouquet, like a whole bouquet, and then Mayuki's is a truckload. But I think Mayuki was thinking like, I'm gonna sell that stuff. Like that's money.
Yeah.
But Kaguya closes the test before anyone can see what that meant. And so only she knows what the answers meant. So she kind of keeps that to herself. Then now we do need to talk about the maid, because we kind of see her. So she's interesting. They're in school. She's like this fun, bubbly girl. She paints her nails, her skirt's like barely not regulation kind of thing. And then changes into her maid uniform, becomes super stoic to take care of Kaguya after school. What did you guys think of Hayasaka, or we can just call her the maid for my poor self?
She seemed to be one of the more anchor characters for the audience, I think. And I think that was a necessity for where the story was going, and how it was developing, which was a good choice. As a character, I liked her. I kind of liked her for the same reasons that I like Chica, in the fact that brings that reasonableness to these situations where she looks at what Kaguya is doing. She's like, you're being an idiot. Just do this thing and everything will be all right. And of course that's, tragedy for Kaguya.
Yeah. I agree with all that. I think there were some scenes, because she was the maid that was there when Kaguya was sick, right?
Yep.
So, yeah. And so there's some scenes where I'm like, she knows these characters really well, and she's either testing or trusting that nothing bad's going to happen. Like, she makes some really strange decisions sometimes, but it either implies a very deep wisdom or a nonchalance. One or the other.
I actually, for that particular scene, I think it's mischievousness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's a really interesting character. I wish we had more time, because there's that whole I'm not the stoic, nice maid that I appear to be when you see me in my job. That she's the girl putting on more makeup than all the other girls in school. And like I said, when she lets him into her room, I think she's like, 17-year-olds should be doing it. And I have no problem with them doing it. And I'm here to help that. Because that fits the maid persona, but because that completely fits her persona when she's being her normal self. So
that's interesting.
But like Jason said, I really like that she's the one who's calling out, like, these games you're playing, they're stupid. You guys are literally keeping each other away from what you both want, and this is stupid. And that really endeared me to her, because of course I'm thinking that this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So a good character, like I said. I kind of wish we got to learn a little bit more about her and how she fits into Kaguya's life. How did she apply for this job and then she chooses that persona because she thinks it fits the job best? Is there a reason all this is like? And like, she sees Kaguya's father and calls him an a-hole.
She's the daughter of a middle manager for Kaguya's family. So I think this is just her job because of family.
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that. So yeah, like I said, we see her like get done with school and like, bye friends, and then turn into the stoic maid, but she convinces Kaguya to paint her nails, and so we get the fashionable nails with gel and some rhinestones on them, and she wants Mayuki to notice, and she's like keeps trying to show them off to Mayuki, and he's just like, I'm not saying anything. But Mayuki is noticing. He's like, oh my God, she looks so cute with those. And should I say something? What do I say? And as this is happening, you, the socially inept you, says to Chica, did you change your hair conditioner? Your hair,
yes.
hair
shampoo?
Yeah, shampoo or conditioner, one of the two.
Because it's smelling up the room.
Yeah.
And they call him a creep.
So this like freaks out Miyuki, who's like, okay, yeah, definitely don't say things about girls
don't observe.
Changing. Yep.
Well, what was the line that you brought out in chat, Jeremy? It's sexual harassment if it's not wanted, but
yes. Oh God, that cracked me up so bad because it's like, oh, thank you, you brought it to today. If you observe anything, whether it's positive or not, it's sexual harassment unless it's wanted, unless it's from someone that it's wanted from.
Right.
And so
it can be the exact same sentence from two different people.
Yep.
One person, it's wanted. The other person, it's harassment.
Exactly. I was so appreciative that the anime actually said that.
And so Yu goes home, like he does. At the end, while Kaguya is going home and she's actually getting ready to cry, she's really upset that nobody, he didn't notice. He rides up on his bike and he's like, I have to tell you something, but I can't, never mind. He rides away. And she takes it as a win that he wanted to tell her something.
Because I think he says, I like your, or something like that, but he doesn't finish it.
Yeah.
So with her amazing deductive powers, maybe she figured out its nails.
We get another love advice scene. This one is the same guy back with Mayuki. He wants to hold her hand, and Mayuki's basically like giving him all this super expensive advice and like, get a job, and yes. Buy all this stuff so you can.
For some reason, he's just really pushing the job thing.
Yep.
I think he was like recruiting him, like he needed help at his job.
Yeah.
Oh, this was selfish. That's right.
Yeah, he was recruiting another part-timer to help him.
Because he's like, your hands sweat, you clearly need surgery. You're going to have to pay for that. I know a job. How about I sign you up for that job? But again, Love Detective Chica is on the case. She walks in and she's like, what's going on? And he's like, I want
literally with a detective hat.
Yep.
And she drags in her Watson.
Just Kaguya, you're right.
Yep.
And she's like, well, what's the problem? He's like, well, I want to hold my girlfriend's hand. Then do it.
Basically the line that solves all the problems for this entire show.
Right.
Just do it.
Just do it. And that advice works for him.
Yep.
We got a U segment where he's complaining about we learn about like club hierarchies and like the sports clubs are all popular and stuff, and he's he works the budgets for the clubs and he wants to slash all the sports budgets, and Mayuki's trying to talk him out of it. He's like, they don't love their girlfriends enough, I have to punish them.
Because all the girlfriends like guys from sports clubs, but he's boring. They're not interested in him, so he's jealous.
And of course, Chica wants more budget for her board game club.
Yep.
Now, this is one of the funniest scenes in this thing. He starts asking, like, what are the girls' clubs? And we learned that Kaguya's in Japanese archery and Chica's in board game. And he starts talking about, oh, yeah, Kaguya in archery. That makes sense. She got nothing here. And he's first pointing at his chest. He's like, she's so flat-chested. And you see her, like, just kind of float into view of behind him. And Mayuki's like, no. And then he starts talking, yeah, but Chica, she's all big and bouncy.
Could you imagine what would happen if that bowstring? Oh my gosh.
And then Chica floats into view. And then they do this really funny thing where Chica grabs a paper and she's like, hey, I'm making a fan. Yay. And then just beats the living snot out of him.
Yep.
And then Kaguya comes up to him afterwards. He's like, the good news is Chica will forgive you. Implying that she never will. And then Yu decides to go home. And then there's a scene where they're talking about they want Mayuki to join a club, and Chica wants it for budget. Kaguya wants it for being with him, and they're like pulling on his arm and trying to get him to join a club. And it just says that his internal monologue is like, there's no way I could join a club. I have jobs, but this feels nice.
Yeah, and so he wins. The narrator tallies the score at the end. He just wins because for this moment he can pretend he's in a harem.
He can pretend he's in a harem for a moment.
I was hoping they would play more on the she's an archery club and that she's dangerous to you because of being in archery.
She does like do martial arts danger to him a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
It's a chokehold.
We get another scene, but this one between Kaguya and Chica talking about how much Kaguya has changed over the years. And then Chica starts talking about her dog's wiener. And we find out
out of nowhere.
Back when Kaguya learned about doing it, she then decided to take on a bunch of education for herself to figure all that stuff out. But she's at the mental development of like a 13-year-old. So things like wiener and boobs and stuff is very funny to her. So every time Chica says wiener, she starts laughing uncontrollably, and she realizes like this is bad. I'm vice president. I can't be doing this. And then Chica figures it out, and she just like lays into her wiener, wiener, wiener. And then Mayuki arrives, and Chica's like, "Oh, I got a good one." And she starts trying to get Mayuki to say the word wiener, but Kaguya is cutting off. She's like, what's another word for hot dog? Frankenfurter. And then Chica gets so frustrated that she can't figure this out that she just blurts out, "I wanted to make you say wiener." And Mayuki like looks at them both and is like, "You perverts!" And he runs out. And poor Kaguya is like, "It wasn't me. I didn't do this." And they start talking about wieners again. Mostly Chica starts talking about wieners again. And we see Yu's outside the door listening. And they're saying stuff like, "Okay, now you do the wiener part. How many wieners do you think you can do?"
Wieners coming out of your mouth constantly. And then Yu's nose just explodes.
Yeah, with blood.
Yeah.
Classic.
It was excellent. It was mwah. It was perfect. This was perfect comedy for my tastes.
For your taste, yes, that is accurate.
This is where it became like comic artists or manga artists' assistants for me, and loved it. Magnifique.
That's why I hated it.
I found this a really endearing moment for Kaguya. Again, we're seeing her go from stuck-up, spoiled brat princess to someone who, she doesn't come from a world where people say wiener, and so she's behind in her social development. And we see this is a big step, and the way it works, and also to see Chica like just literally torturing her.
And the narrator does a really good job of describing how this is no different than when you have I don't have a kid, but I'm sure you guys can attest to it. When you find something that makes your kid laugh really hard, or even if you're tickling them and you get the laughter response, you dig in. Is that true? It's fun to see the response, and so you do it to get that response.
One of the hardest things about being a parent of a small kid is like you just want to tickle them all the time because like, hey, automatic laughter, but like being tickled mercilessly is not actually fun.
No, they have to breathe. Yeah. So
no, but when your kid comes up to you and is like, "I bet you can't tickle me," it's like, okay,
yeah, I know how it works now. I'm bored. Yeah. So for that reason, I also understood that the humor made sense the way the narrator explained it.
Yeah, I thought it worked. The next one we meet Kei, who is Mayuki's sister. And so Kaguya comes up with this big plan of like, I'm going to befriend her. And this is actually the scene where she imagines like getting invited into the home of Mayuki and joining his family as part of her plan to get close to him, which I thought was one of the most telling like scenes of the whole thing about who she really is. But she goes through all this stuff of like, okay, I'm going to be her mentor. And no, okay, that won't work. I'm going to be her friend. And we find out like Chica's already best friends with her.
All of the things, like even the sis, she even uses like, it's my sister or my sis, and, oh God, just cuts her off on every corner.
But then when the sister's talking to Mayuki, he's like, "Oh, I was visiting." That girl is terrifying. Then the finals are coming up, and basically everyone just goes into full on lie mode. Mayuki's like, "You guys shouldn't study. Studying's dumb. You already know what you know. No need to study." But only because he has to get first place, right? He needs this spot. So he's literally sabotaging everybody. And then Kaguya's doing the same thing. She's like, "Yeah, no need to study. I'm not studying. That'd be dumb." And they point out like poor Chica doesn't understand that they're like manipulating. So she's taking their advice, and her scores have plummeted since joining the student council.
Yep.
Poor girl. And then Yu's like, "Yeah, I'm totally gonna study," and he goes home and plays video games. When the tests come out, though, there's some great scenes about how they're lying to themselves. Like Mayuki's like, "I'm totally whatever happens, happens. And he's like, I could vomit right now. But he gets first. Mayuki gets first. Kaguya gets second. Chika goes from 91st to 101st, and Yu goes from 197th to 177. So he actually gets better.
Not on his own initiative though.
Nope.
Which is the next scene, which is we go 1 week back and we see that Kaguya actually helped Yu study, forced him to study, tied him up, fed him dried sardines, and then made him study. And the reason she does this, it's not really to help him. It's because that's what student president Mayuki, who she's in love with, needs for the club to run smoothly. So she's like, I'm going to help out my man. But there is a nice, there is a nice scene where some girls come up and are making fun of you for being with her. And she actually goes up and is like, I like being with him. So are you questioning me? And like makes the girl step off. And he was like, well, now they're going to talk. She's like, people talk. What happens? And then she nearly kills him for not doing as well as he could have.
Which was also fitting because that's a display of her teaching ability.
Okay. This whole next episode I thought were great because all three segments again kind of connect to each other. And it just got better and better. So it starts off with a surprise thunderstorm has hit the air. And so, first of all, Chica's freaking out that someone's going to steal her belly button. And I don't know what that would even come from. Is it just a random thing? Or is that a folktale in Japan that I don't know?
Probably.
I think she's just terrified of thunder.
But why the belly button?
Yeah,
there's no logic in that.
Yeah.
I do think you're right about folktale. It probably comes from some other story that we're not familiar with.
Yeah, it seems so specific that I was like, it's weird she's picking the belly button. But Kaguya wants to get Mayuki to ride home with her because she knows he brought his bike. The trains all get canceled. So she's like, okay, this is my opportunity. So she gets Chika literally out of there using the thunder and lightning to drive her out so that she can't. Chaos element removed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mayuki goes to the bathroom, so she finds out the trains are running again. So she's like, okay, I can't let him find out. So she swaps out his cell phone battery with a dead one.
Which she's prepared for this moment,
yes.
like way even before the storm. Like she was like, just in case there's at some moment I need to replace his battery with a dead one, I'm going to store this here. And it's like this long-term planning paid off.
Yes.
Yeah, like if I need to cut off his connection to the rest of the world, that kind of sounds a little scary.
Yeah. This particular planned event was not for tonight. It was done way earlier.
Yeah, this is like villain territory here. I loved it.
Again, this is what I was here for. So I was like, heck yeah. So she kills his phone. And then she leaves and goes and waits by her car for him to come out. Like, I got this. Leaving him with no other options, right? So she's standing in the rain, and her maid's like, if he's in the car, how do I get home? Well, you gotta walk. I hope karma gets you, madam. I do love the way that the maid will literally talk crap to her face. Yeah. Even, points out what a brat she is and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But so she's standing there in the rain, waiting for him to come out. And then, like a screaming banshee, he goes by on his bike just into the storm. Splashes her with water, soaking her wet as he just goes out into the night. I love that the karma of everything that she set up and how much she manipulated the situation bit her in the butt. I was so into it. And she points out to the maid, like, I already called you a taxi. Karma didn't need to get me.
Yep.
It caught me off guard when he screamed by it on the bike, so that actually made me laugh really hard. I didn't know where this was going, so that was very funny. But there's consequences to this. Because she got soaked, she gets sick the next day. And it turns out when she gets sick and feverish, she turns into a babbling idiot.
Baby?
Baby, basically.
Yeah.
Babyish.
So the other student councils learn the next day that she's sick, and they want to have someone go visit her. And so they decided to play a game to decide who it is. And everybody except
I don't
you
get this. Why?
wants, because
if
she's
they all
such.
show up at the same time, it would be overwhelming.
Yeah, they come to that conclusion. And there's this. Chica says she's seen her sick before, and that she acts like a baby. And so this is this girl that's always in control, always has icy cold glares, and she's going to be cute and babbling. And so it's like, oh my God, we have to see this. So Chica's like, no matter what, I'm winning. So they play this game. They play concentration, right?
Yeah. I didn't get why they decided they needed to play a game. Why couldn't one person go in, visit, come out, and then the next person go in, or the next person go the next day? Anyways, go on.
I think it was just because it was a one visit period. Like you weren't going to take turns.
Yeah.
I'm guessing a proper
that is
every
weird
week kind of thing.
Yeah.
But us lower social class would never know.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't understand the elites.
Echelon.
So they play this game, which is basically just a matching card game. And at first when they put it out, he's like, Chica, these are marked cards. You're cheating.
She lost 5 points right off the bat.
Yeah, because she sets up the rules and is like, hey, if you're caught cheating, and he's like, wait, who puts a rule of getting caught cheating into this game?
Well, and like normally you'd think if you're caught cheating, you lose. But if you're caught cheating, you lose 5 points.
Mm. So she puts out new cards and they start playing with those. And he's doing well, but he starts losing to Chica. Chica's like, I got this. And he realizes these cards are kind of marked too. And she's using them in a pattern. And she was doing something where she was moving the cards whenever she'd pick them up and lay them back down so that it's harder to memorize where they are. But yet she was still getting matches. And he realized that way she put them down was actually pointing to their value, so she would always know what they were. So he ends up winning, and poor Chica has to run out crying as they accuse her of cheating.
It's pretty great because they tied 18-18, but she had -5 points from cheating.
Yep.
What's really interesting is that Chica's in the board game club, so it makes you wonder how often she cheats there.
Oh, that's a good point. Yes.
And then we get the scene of Mayuki going to visit. And one of the reasons that it became so important to him, because at first it was like, oh, I'm going to get to see her like in a state of undress, and who knows what she's going to want me to do, and like this could get really hot and steamy. But then he kind of realizes, wait, how'd she get sick? Wasn't there something I drove by on my bike? Oh no! So he wants to do this out of honor and duty for realizing that he caused it. So he goes, and the maid makes him go inside and makes him see her, and she's like on the floor with scissors, cutting stuff up and looking for fireworks. I want fireworks.
Which actually ties in later.
Yeah, it does. Oh my God, that just hit me.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
It didn't hit me until now either.
And I even had to review my notes before we recorded. So yeah, I'm an idiot. Maybe I have a fever. Okay. Yeah, she wants to see fireworks. They put her back into bed, and the maid's like, hey, I'm just going to leave you in here. No one is going to come check for like 3 hours. Don't do anything to her. This room is soundproof. Don't do anything to her. You could literally do anything you wanted to her and get away with it, but don't do anything to her.
She's like closing the door really slowly, and as she's still talking, you're just seeing her one eye. Yep.
I think she's just trying to be a good wingman here.
I guess she knows what Kaguya really wants.
Yeah. I mean, and so they start talking a little bit, and she is acting like an idiot. She's basically a feverish idiot. But she apologizes for the way he treats her, or she treats him. He apologizes for getting her sick, and then she pulls him into her bed. And what I really appreciate about it, like nothing actually happens, obviously, but that he falls asleep because he's so tired. And I've been thinking this whole time, like, I love how they draw him always looking tired. And so when he falls asleep in her bed, I was like, yeah, I buy that. I've bought this guy's exhausted every episode I've seen him, so I totally get that.
Yep. They even put a little like sign with an arrow, sleep deprived.
Uh-huh.
Again, I just want to point out that that's really good character design that they carry through is plot intricate and but yeah. So when she wakes up, no longer feverish, she kind of loses it and beats the crap out of him, he has to run away. And the maid like pulls out a magnifying glass, looking at the sheets. She's like, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah. Sometimes this anime really kind of shocks me a little bit with just how far it goes.
Yeah, and Kaguya is like in like a tank top that's like half falling down and in tiny shorts.
Yep.
Like it was very
like a Navy
suggestive.
blouse.
Yeah, that something could have happened. And it's not like it didn't cross his mind too. It's very clear that like that had crossed his mind all the way there.
Oh yeah, I mean, he even goes as far as to say, "I was holding myself back," and you know, it's ambiguous what he means exactly, but it could be as little as holding himself back from a kiss versus holding himself back from complete intimacy. But yeah,
so the next episode kind of deals with the fallout. There's tension, and he's apologizing, explaining nothing happened, and she's accepted that, but they don't feel. He's still upset that he got in trouble in the first place and he didn't do anything wrong. She's upset that, in all honesty, he didn't do anything at all. You know, she invited him into her bed and nothing happens. There's a scene where they fight over a last piece of cake and they end up almost feeding each other, but Chica steals it. Then they go to friends for advice and end up basically getting bad advice, but he eventually comes to her and confesses like something did happen. I did touch you with my finger on your lips, and that actually makes her happy that he did something and it wasn't something horrible. So she touches him on the lips and says we're even. So they go back to the way things were.
Yep.
And then they decide the summer is here, and so they have to decide what that summer trip will be. And basically, he's like, okay, I got a plan. I'm going to get Chica to plan a trip. He's like, Chica, what about, and she's like, hey, let's do a trip. Oh, I am doing a trip. I'm going to Hawaii. And I love how Kaguya is like, I give up. I just give up. If Chica's, she's too much, I can't handle it. She goes brain dead. But Mayuki keeps trying. But eventually, he looks over at you, and you's like, I would like to do something. And so they plan to do a summer festival. And everyone wants to go, but then Chica's like, I might not be able to go. And like, well, we're gonna go.
I actually like that you pointed out, like, wait, you don't want us to have fun, but you're gonna go on a trip
around the world, like,
but you don't want us to have fun, okay?
And she runs out angry at them, and he was like, I'm the worst. And they're like, no, you're spot on this time. Yep. Then basically they waste their summer break wishing they were together and not never being together. There's a really funny episode about he starts using Twitter, and she finds out through her maid, and her maid's trained to take a bath, and she keeps interrupting the maid like, help me with Twitter, I don't understand Twitter. And like the next time she shows up, I got banned from Twitter already.
that was pretty funny that she got banned.
Yeah.
But it ends up just being that his account is protected. And she does send the friend request, doesn't she?
I thought she did.
She said she was only going to... No, she decided she was going to make her own protected account. And Hayasaka's like, you're an idiot. I think that's how it ends.
Yeah, I don't remember a resolution for that one.
Okay, then there's the ramen one, and you guys love the ramen. Chica returns from her trip and goes to a ramen shop, and it's told from the point of view of like a ramen connoisseur who watches her eat her ramen is like, no, what an amateur. And then it's like, wait, maybe it's genius.
Yes.
No, I love the she ordered the noodles super firm. What an idiot. And then like, did she account for them stretching out? Oh my God, I should have known.
Yep.
So I think you guys have separate reasons. So real quickly, what did you love about the ramen scene?
So for me, I'm a bit of an amateur foodie, and I love ramen. And so not only all the things they were talking about, I kind of got, but like, so for one, she put her hair in a ponytail, which was great. Cause we'd seen it down this whole time. And so it kind of gave it, I like the look of it with the ponytail, but, also just them critiquing her silently. Even the chef was.
Yeah.
And then she's just like, that was delicious. And like, and they all give thumbs up. And then she just obliviously walks out as if she has no idea what's happening.
All right, I'm cool. Thank you for the thumbs up. Yeah, for me, it has to do with perception versus intention and just how absurdly different those two things can be. The fact that she's just coming in there to have a meal of her favorite food, and maybe she's just randomly picking things off the board and it just happens to coincide with what he wants, or maybe this is something that she's had before and she likes it. It's a great combination. Maybe she's making decisions spur of the moment at the end with the garlic. She does kind of look over at it like, oh yeah, there's garlic there. Maybe that was a momentary decision she made. And yet this observer who has spent so much time and has so much invested in understanding how everything balances out to make the perfect ramen dish. And it's so perfect and it's so deep and complex. And then, attributes all of that to her as if she did that. And I see that as a reflection in so many things when it comes to people's perception versus the reality of intention.
Personally attacked. Yep.
So for me, I loved it because it was like the anime was pointing out how much that happens in an absurd situation.
Yep.
Those are both very good points. When I watched it, it went right over my head. I was like, okay,
why is this here?
This is a weird segment. All right, moving on.
Nope.
And then later, the taxi driver is like one of the 4 kings of ramen for just random reason. Right.
Yeah.
Why are there 4 kings of ramen? I don't know.
I have no clue.
So 3 weeks have passed in the summer. It's coming closer and closer to the end. They haven't done anything with each other. They're literally just sitting around waiting for the one plan they made to show up.
Because they won't call or text each other. Which,
right.
Yeah,
they're both too stubborn.
Whatever.
Which is called out that they are both too stubborn to do that
and stupid.
Yep.
And actually, they both come up with the same plan at the same time. That what if I just went to the school? Maybe randomly they would be at the school too, but they miss each other by like 2 minutes. So I mean, they were right, but then they both agree that summer was just being too long. And then we get another quick segment post credits, I think, where Kaguya is summoned by her father to go home, and she has to cancel a day of shopping with all her friends that she had, the one other thing she was going to do that summer. And when she gets there, her father walks by and is like, "Oh, good, you're here," and leaves. And that's literally all she was summoned for.
Mm-hmm.
But in our final episode, she's fine with that. She's like, that's just the life of what I have and what I've been sentenced to. But I have found something new and valuable, and it's going to be seeing the fireworks with my friends and the first guy I've ever liked. And that's all going to be great. And then her butler / bodyguard is like, no, you're not going out. You keep getting into crazy situations, and that we're just going to stay in from now on.
Yeah, your father has decided that you've made a bad impression.
It didn't even sound like she asked the father. She said, like, what if something happened and your father found out? We're not going to put that risk out there.
She specifically mentioned it was a too high a security risk because they wouldn't have the personnel to be able to watch her in such a big crowd. I hated it, but I was paying attention.
Okay.
Good job.
So we see a tweet get sent out from her account that says, "I wish I could have see the fireworks with my friends," after she's already canceled. And Mayuki sees that text or that tweet and is like, "Okay then." And he gets on his bike and he takes off. We see that the maid is the one who sent the tweet, and then she goes up to Kaguya and she's like, "You're gonna go. We're gonna get you out of here." And they have like a zip line pre-set up for her to escape. They dress the maid up in a costume so she looks like Kaguya. And Mayuki comes to the house, sees the fake Kaguya, realizes it's fake, is like, okay, I get what's going on. And he takes off. She's in a cab. She can't make it to the fireworks in time, goes on foot, doesn't make it, and starts to cry in an alley that, she even says, like, I prayed to God, but there is no God.
Yeah, she's so upset.
Mayuki finds her in the alleyway. She's like, how'd you find me? He's like, compared to everything else I have to outsmart you with, this was nothing. And he takes her. They have the same cab driver ready to go. Her friends are there. They're like, and Mayuki says there's one fireworks thing that got delayed due to rain. And if we hurry, we can probably make it. And the taxi driver's like, okay, guys, we're going full speed. And they go into an underwater tunnel, and they come out right in time to the fireworks start going off, and they're all pressed up against the windows. And Kaguya doesn't see a single one because she can't take her eyes off of Mayuki. She can't even hear the fireworks because her heart's beating so loud. And this was a very sweet, nice moment.
Mm-hmm.
I do have things to say about this ending, but this was a sweet, nice moment. And then we go back to school, and poor Mayuki, he's been reliving that night over and over and realizing, oh my God, I said a lot of things. There was a lot of stuff I did. I was like just yelling out lines. And they point out like he was so emotionally deprived from not seeing her that he just kind of got overwhelmed, and he was like full on action mode. And now that he's replaying over in his head, he's like, I am an idiot.
Yeah.
She probably thinks
game.
Yep. She probably thinks I was an idiot. And he's really worried about what she's going to think of all that stuff. And then she shows up and she won't even look at him. And it's because now her crush has reached a whole new level and she can't bring herself to even look at him. So they keep trying to like, okay, I'm just going to walk over there and talk to them. And they walk to each other and they just pass by. And they walk to each other and they just pass by. And they're like, this happened like 3 times. What is going on? I'm going to go over there and I'm just going to talk to them. And they do it. And then Chica notices it's happening. She starts like thinking it's a game, joining in.
Let's make an asterisk now.
That was pretty funny.
Oh, we're going to make a triangle. So Yu shows up and she's like, nope, we don't need you here. You get out of here. You're ruining the game.
And he was like, I guess I'll go home. And then they kick Chica out as well.
Mm-hmm.
And she finally comes up and talks to him and says, I need to tell you about that night. She wants to say thank you, but she accidentally hits him with the broom and says, oh, that was painful. And he hears, I need to tell you that was painful. Thinking about the night, he's like, oh my God, I'm right. I was an idiot. So he runs out of the room. She's like, wait, no, I still need to tell you something. So she chases after him. And we just kind of get a quick epilogue as they run by everyone. That's the end of the show, is them running out as the crowds kind of follow. Yep. It was really disappointing to me that there's no resolution, no move forward. I'm fine with a season 2, but I would have liked to be in the season 2 be like, okay, this person confessed, so they're the loser, but now who's the first one to like take them on a date? That's the next game, right? For the game to evolve. And I get will they, won't they is a big thing, and it's the whole premise of the comedy, but man, I hate it when things just stall like that. I just can't. They're really disappointing for me. Your guys' thoughts?
Oh yeah, disappointing for me too.
You really want them to get together?
It was written for him.
You walked into it. You have to take it.
No. You're absolutely right, because I think it may have been a little more palatable if there was some sort of resolution. And the fact that there was no resolution felt like I was watching a really crappy harem anime where the guy doesn't make a decision on which guy he wants to be or which girl he wants to be with.
I think for me, I saw it as, oh, I get it. This anime is a situation that is somewhat contrived in the sense that each time there's so many possible solutions and there's so many ways that either one of them could just accidentally reveal their feelings or intentionally reveal their feelings, and the whole jig would be up. So it's kind of contrived to just keep retaining it episode after episode after episode. And so it wasn't too difficult for me to deal with it continuing to do that and planning to go into setting up another season just to retain that same homeostasis of what the joke's going to be. And because there's a lot of ways that they could still play it from different directions. And since they are only second years in high school, they've got plenty of time left to really kind of wring this joke out for all it's worth before they're done with semesters. So if they make each semester a season, I could totally see a lot of longevity in it and them very slowly, inch by inch by inch, growing up and developing into having a relationship, and then reaching the stages of like what you described, Troy, of, you know, having to make other decisions and concessions and how to deal with the greater complexities. So it didn't bother me too much. I was a little bit sad that it kind of undid it, but I liked the fact that they ran where he's kind of fleeing from her under a misconception, and she's chasing after him, trying to solve the problem. But at the same time, we know that she's too afraid to be honest herself. And so it kind of is symbolic of the entire season, and the entire premise of the story is just that chase itself. Because like we've mentioned before, she's put so much effort into setting up scenarios. She's been chasing him this whole time. Yeah. He's been reactive. He hasn't really put as much, most of the time, into setting up scenarios. So I did like that aspect of it. But no, it wasn't as satisfying as it could have been. It would have been nice to see them, you know, reveal.
Yeah, I did like Kaguya's character arc, but that kind of ended with the whole fireworks scene, right? That she got to get what she had been wanting, and that it was social interaction and not some fancy school or accolade. It was just being with her friends, and that in that moment she realized what she really was important to her, which is, you know, this guy that she's in love with. But then again, this scene, I agree with you, Jeremy. Okay, that ends us with this anime. So let's do our reviews. Jeremy, what are you going to give it?
I'm actually going to give it a 4. I really enjoyed a lot of the jokes. A lot of the jokes way more than I thought I would. I did not, like, when the first 3 episodes were done, I thought for sure I was going to give it a high 2. But by the time I was finished with it, it had really endeared itself to me. So yeah, a 4 for me.
All right, Jason, how about you?
It was no Kisniver, so it's definitely a 2. I
can't wait for Kisniver season 2. It just
you do that to me, and we're gonna have some problems.
Keep bringing it up, then. You know, see what happens. Keep poking that bear.
Okay, it was no comic artist. But it, you know, for a cute romance comedy, I can see where people would really enjoy it. I just didn't. It wasn't for me. But yeah, it's 2 for me.
It took some time to get going, or for me to maybe understand where the characters were coming from. You know, I think that's really easy to get some false perceptions in the beginning. And like I said, I'm at a phase in my life where stuff is pretty far away. It's something I did experience, so I can relate to it a little bit, but it's also like, man, kids are dumb when they first start falling in love. But that's also kind of the point of the anime. I'm going to give it a high 3, I guess. That, you know, it's not something I'm wanting to watch season 2 of, but it's not something I'm upset we watched. I enjoyed it. I had my laughs. It was good. All right, so let's talk about this next anime. It is called Magical Girl Spec Ops Asuka. Jason, what is this?
Is this the one you sent us the trailer for before?
May have. So yeah, imagine Sailor Moon and her team gets inducted by Special Ops government to take out terrorists.
Okay.
This is what I hoped Release the Spice and Double Decker would be more like.
Yeah, no, this gets pretty gritty pretty fast.
Have you seen any of it already?
I watched the first episode. The animation is definitely under budget of a lot of the anime we've watched. But the voice acting is good. The pacing feels all right. I mean, for a first episode, and I really like the premise.
Okay. So, all right, that's what we're watching next, and we'll be talking about that in 2 weeks. I needed to tell you how to contact us, because honestly, the important part of the show is that you guys take what we just said and tell us why we're wrong. If you have thoughts on,
especially
I actually would love to hear thoughts on this, especially from people who were in love with it even more than us.
Yeah.
From get-go. So if you have thoughts on this anime, our Twitter is @Baka Podcast. Our email, theanimebakaclub@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment wherever you found the podcast, and it'll get to us, and we will get back to you. Thank you all for those who leave comments. We do appreciate them. For YouTube, like, subscribe, ring the bell, stomp your feet, clap your hands, turn around,
Smash it.
hit the street. All right, let's say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Sayonara.